Welcome to MacNeil Tech, the wash experience. I'm Scott Ferry. I work for Budco Distributing, a distributor of MacNeil wash systems. Today, we're here to talk about the SuperFlex air control panel. That is this component right here. And we're going to talk about the various components, how they work, and how they function to control the SuperFlex wraparounds. We're going to talk about the SuperFlex air control panel and the components that make up that panel. The SuperFlex air control panel controls the behavior of the brush, or controls what the brush does as it washes a car. It controls the main arm extend, the main arm retract, the fold and the unfold, and the boost pressure that extends the brush. There are a few main components that make up the air control panel. There are air regulators, which there are 5 of them, and one down there. We have solenoids. There are 6 of them total, so we have the ones on the outside here that are 3-way solenoids, and then we have 4 4-way solenoids right here through the center. Starting with air regulators, we have the regulator that controls the boost pressure. We have the air regulator that controls the fold and the unfold of the secondary arm, and also the retract pressure. This air regulator here controls the sealing pressure, or the pressure that controls the dampening cylinders on the vertical arm of the brush. These 2 air regulators control the extend pressure of the main arm cylinders. The solenoids, starting with the outside, we have the passenger side boost and the driver's side boost. In the center, if you were to divide this in half, this side of the air control panel does the driver's side, this side of the control panel does the passenger side. So we have the 2 center solenoids that control the fold and unfold of the secondary arm. So we have driver's side here, passenger side here. We have the 2 solenoids that control the main arms. So the main arm extend on the driver's side, main arm extend on the passenger side. There are 2 shuttle valves. The shuttle valves allow the pressure to switch between the boost and the main arm, the regular washing pressure. The higher pressure will go through the shuttle valve and out through this airline out to the main arm cylinder. This is called a bleed coupling, and this coupling has a very small hole drilled into it that allows the pressure to equalize between the boost and the main arm pressure. That hole is an intentional hole that is put there for that very purpose. So that is a basic overview of the various components that make up the SuperFlex air control panel. Now that we've identified the components that make up the SuperFlex air control panel, we're going to establish our pressures that the air regulators should be set at. So starting right here with the boost pressure, through experience and time, we've determined that the best pressure to start with is 50 psi. So we're going to go ahead and turn that up to 50 psi. We've also found that the fold pressure, so we have our fold and our retract pressure, that this ideal pressure is somewhere between 40 and 50 psi. So to start, we will start at 40 psi and then make observations in the bay and adjust accordingly. Our sealing pressure should be set at 30 psi. We have on the left side here, we have our driver's side washing pressure. And over here on the right side, we have our passenger side washing pressure. In order to adjust this regulator, we need to use a manual override which is on each of the four-way solenoids. To activate the manual override, we just turn this a quarter turn clockwise, and that will give us our pressure. The ideal pressure for the main arm washing pressure is somewhere between 5 and 10 psi. When I activated the manual override, that was at 6 psi, and that is a good starting point. Once we wash some cars and make observations, we can make adjustments to make that a higher or lower pressure. Now that we've established our known air pressures on the air panel, we're going to talk about how the air flows through the panel. So our main air is coming in, and it's supplying both the boost air regulator, and the main air is supplying the main air regulator on the panel, on the air panel. This air regulator controls the fold and unfold of the secondary arm and the main arm retract pressure. So the air comes through this regulator and it comes into the manifold of these four solenoids. These four solenoids control main arm, fold of the secondary arm, fold of the secondary arm, and then main arm. So driver side, passenger side, passenger side. So the air that's coming through the boost solenoid, or the boost air regulator, comes to the boost solenoid here and also the boost solenoid here, driver side, passenger side. When the solenoids are not energized and they're at rest, then the air is coming through the normally open side of the solenoid, which is these four lines on the front of the four-way solenoids. So this is holding everything at its home position or its rest position. So retract for the main arms and unfold for the secondary arms. When these solenoids switch position, for the fold cylinders, or the fold solenoids, the air pressure going out to the air cylinder switches from the blue line to the green line behind it. So that when this solenoid is energized, it causes that secondary arm to fold. When it's de-energized, it unfolds. And this happens at the air pressure of this regulator right here. When the main arm solenoid activates, then the air pressure comes through this line right here to the main arm air regulator. So we have driver side and passenger side. And this is, of course, set between 5 and 10 psi. When the main arm solenoid is energized and the air is passing through this air regulator to the shuttle valve, the higher pressure between the boost and the main arm air pressure will be the one that goes through the shuttle valve and out to the extend side of the air cylinder. The boost, when it is active, it will be the higher pressure, and it will go through the shuttle valve and be the overriding pressure to control the extend of the main arm cylinder. Now that we've talked about how the air flows through the air control panel, we're going to talk about the sequence of events that takes place in the washing process. First of all, each of these solenoids has an LED that indicates when that solenoid is active and when it is at rest. When the main arm solenoid activates, then the air comes through that solenoid and up to this air regulator, which will show the 5 to 10 psi, which is the washing pressure. But that washing pressure is not enough to move the brush in a fast enough manner to get in front of the vehicle and then also to move into the back of the vehicle, which is why we have our boost pressure. So the boost will happen at two different times in the wash process. One, to get the brush in front of the vehicle, and second, to get the brush across the back of the vehicle. So in the sequence of events, what happens is we have our main arm solenoid and our boost solenoid that will come on simultaneously. the boost solenoid will come on for only a few seconds. The main arm solenoid will stay on for the duration of the wash process. With that brush in front of the vehicle, it will begin washing and come around the front of the car and start washing the sides of the car, at which point the fold cylinder or the fold solenoid will activate to fold the secondary arm cylinder. So this happens around the mirror area of the vehicle. So once these two are activated, then that will continue down the sides of the vehicle to the rear of the vehicle. So both the fold and the fold-unfold solenoid and the main arm solenoid will be on at the same time. When we get to the rear of the vehicle, the boost solenoid will activate and will put enough pressure to the main arm to get across the back of the vehicle, at which point the fold solenoid will deactivate and the secondary arm will unfold and keep it in contact with the rear of the vehicle. At about the time that that is finishing its unfold sequence, then the main arm solenoid will deactivate and will retract the brush across the back of the vehicle. And that concludes our overview of the SuperFlex air control panel. While this can be one of the more daunting pieces of equipment in the equipment room, it can be broken down easily into its individual components and more easily understood. Thank you again for joining us at MacNeil Tech, the Wash Experience.